Hi everyone, it's Gavi again, whose beard is growing in nicely. And right before we hit record, I was doing some filing of a lot of papers, and we were talking about red paper clips. I'm a big believer in binder clips. I've got a bunch on my desk here, and I was telling Gavi about how I was getting a whole bunch of papers set up, and he has a story about a red paper clip and its meaning to us today. So take it away, Gavi.
Yeah, it's like anything else in life. It's amazing. One small thing can lead to something discussion. So yeah, so we're talking about life, and I don't know, came in conversations, but you had a red paper clip, and it reminded me of about I think it was a Canadian guy for a joke. He's a blogger. He decided to he had a red paper clip, and he decided to see how if he could trade it online. And I remember reading about it. And basically, he goes through the whole thing, and eventually, it's like 14 different trades, and he ended up with a house.
Wow.
And it just got me thinking when you said that years ago when I heard this, is that if you think about it, it's a great analogy of anything. As you know, I look at anything and try to relate to life.
Right.
And I thought, wow, this is a great analogy of, you meet people and, you ask them what would make you happy? And they always come up, or $1 million,
Right.
if I was married to the right person, or if I had the Lamborghini, or whatever the thing is.
Or $1 million to the right person
Or a
and a
million dollars,
Lamborghini. Yeah, exactly.
and you always, with clients, you always kind of like bring them back to reality and go slowly. And so you ask them normally is, why would that make you happy? Right? And the most times they would like, I haven't really thought about it because I assume $1 million will solve all my problems. In reality, when you break it down, that even if I gave you $1 million, it wouldn't make you happy because it's a progress of trying to find out who you are and what you are. So to me, when I heard about this, the red paperclip, I tell people, clients, and so on, it's like the red paperclip is what you have to offer to someone else. Hey,
So
you
it's
may think,
value.
right, it's intrinsically a red paperclip is nothing really. You can put it together, like I said, with your files, but that say you write up a wonderful an essay, right,
Right.
or a thought, and you clip it with that red paperclip, and you give it to someone, and they read it, and it changes their life, right? And in return, they go, "Wow, you know what? Your paper changed my perspective on life, and now my marriage is much more meaningful." Or, one small gesture can save someone's life.
Right.
Uh, it just, I just thought that same thing was like, sometimes you can bring that to your own life. Like, oh, what have I got to give you? I've only
Oh, I like
got,
that. I like that.
who am I? Kind of like, what do I know? Like, no, like a small thing we've discussed before in many times on the podcast. Like, a smile or a hug or a good word, can change someone's life. You don't realize it, but we don't value the small insignificant things, right? We
Right.
think straight away we want that house that he ended up with after 14 trades. I mean, it's a
Right.
funny story, but again, like,
So we want to go from the paperclip to the house. We don't want
yeah,
to build value in between.
I put it this way, again, just thinking on my top of my head, say, you're dating, right? So at
Okay.
the beginning, you're trying to find each other, but you have to build a relationship of just, so we do, you give them a flower,
Right.
right? And then you go to the next stage, and then when you get married, you're building, you're constantly building. But along the way, you create relationships. You learn, how to overcome negative things that may, offend them, and you build a house together. Like I'll tell you a funny story. Like when I first got married, I didn't have money, so I
Right.
went to like a thrift store, right, and bought table and chair and I kind of like made a coffee chair out of old wood and stuff like that. And now, thank God, after many years, you've got a proper a table and chairs. But I met people that to start off with something like secondhand is like blow them away.
Right.
Like no, you have to go and buy the most elegant, beautiful, the most expensive kitchen thing, well, right? Because we got that perfection. But not that I'm not knocking them, but it shows you humble roots, where you started from, kind of thing. And that table, you know, at so many years later, is still entertaining guests and discussions and, good, bad, and ugly kind of thing.
So what
I just think,
you can see making an appearance one of Gavi's dedicated listeners, the cat, um, who does like the sound of Gavi's voice when we do this podcast. Um, so and I would not trade him like I would trade a paperclip. But I think it's interesting because so the paperclip is something that person offers to someone, and then later that that person offers something of value to something else. So one of the lessons is that everybody has something of value to offer, and
absolutely.
you don't know where it ends up, right?
Yeah. It's like a ripple effect, you
Right.
know?
And you've talked about a lot of that before, that you don't know when you put something good out or something positive into the world where that's going to stop. And that's why we post the inspirational quotes on our Tap Out Facebook, which will start up again. Had a couple of technical difficulties, folks, but it will start up again this Saturday. And please go there for your daily dose of inspiration. That being said, um, you can make a difference in somebody's life with a paperclip, but that paperclip also is something he could have thrown away.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, again, to make this multicultural, you can, what was it, the famous Jesus thing? Well, he taught someone how to, you can give a fish to someone you feed him for a day, but teach him how to fish and he can eat the rest of his life. You
Exactly.
know, I you never know, I've always believed in this, and I'm sure we've talked about this, whether it's online on the universe of internet, or we just have between our own personal relationships, conversations, is that you don't know how many people watch you
Right.
or from a distance. If they like we talked about before, kids, right?
Right.
You as an educator in educational, and me with my camping experience. Kids watch older people because they realize that we're meant to be an example. They
Right.
don't understand the nuances of people who are disillusioned and disenfranchised by life. Kids are innocently beautiful and they watch you, right? So therefore they watch the way you talk, the way you act, the way you eat, the way you drive, the way you react if your sports team loses, kind of thing.
Right.
How do you talk to your partner when you're angry and frustrated and they'll do something? I know that's an extreme case, but
Right.
as we've also discussed before, the music, excuse me, the music is between the notes, kind of thing
Exactly.
you know, and if you look back at your own life, you can see the people who have inspired you, and most likely you were inspired by something, by one small thing they did that you went, "Whoa, that's something interesting. Let me try that myself." You know?
And so that's kind of the paperclip, isn't it? It's this idea that you put something out, somebody receives it, right? Even if you're not, even if it's something little, something maybe the paperclip's intentional, but you just go out and you put out a positivity, you're having an experience, or you're genuine, and then
Yeah,
they take that in, and then what they do with it affects another person and another person, and you never know what that ends up. It ends up as a house, right? And
right.
I love this story of one red paperclip turning into a house, not because I want to go out and turn a paperclip into a house, but because I know that there's a sequence, there's a chain, in this case, a chain of transactions, but you could just as easily say a change of experience, a chain of
Yeah.
something that reaches from that small act to that great result.
Yeah, again, no, we discussed again because I believe this, and you do too. Is that even something as beautiful as a hug, right? You don't realize how it affects people. A kind word goes a long way. Yeah. Unfortunately, I think society is missing that small acts of kindness.
Right.
That small, the insignificant. Again, we kind of like brush aside small things. What was my dad used to say, if I can remember? Don't do extraordinary things, do normal things, kind of thing. Do the everyday, the
Right.
consistency, the small things, plug away, Yeah, again, it's simple, but again, it's so complicated because we don't value that we think the small things, make an impression.
All right.
We
So
think
I'm
you
going
have
to
to
put
be,
you on the spot here, Gavi.
oh, okay.
You do a lot of transformative work with people.
I try
And
to.
and that's one of the reasons we decided to do the podcast because you have this work that you do with people can reach other people. And a lot of that is delving into people's deep struggles, right? Which are unique. But what's the little thing you do? What's your paperclip that you do in your everyday life that you know ripples? The one you're sure ripples, or the one maybe you wish
Um,
you did more of?
I would say two things. I would say two things. A, love yourself more.
Okay.
Okay. Be less, be more gentle on yourself,
Okay.
you know. And B, I would say be honest. Just a small thing. Wake up in the morning, go, I'm tired and I'd rather go to bed, but I have responsibility. I may have to smile, right? I don't think it, but just be honest enough with yourself because honesty is transparent, I believe. Um, but I would say my paperclip would be totally honest, being honest with myself, be gentle with myself,
Right.
you
Be gentle
know?
with yourself and be honest with
Um,
yourself.
yeah,
And
you know, I have challenges too. They may be different from you, but I can at least empathize with you. A kind word, you know. Let's talk about it. I think that was another thing I would say that I always tell people I only discuss things that either I know about or I only have a discussion with people that are willing to listen to the other side and then we can have a discussion about it. I don't have time for people who think there's one dimensional.
so
That's
I
a bit
think
that's more than a paper cut though.
but one of the things you said that I think is really important that I think about that's applicable um as a parent and as an individual when you talk about be gentle with yourself and be honest with yourself, so often we are comparing ourselves to others, right?
Totally.
And feeling that we come up short. And I think one of the things about that is that we are comparing a lot of times our worst moments to somebody else's highlight reel, right? To somebody else's social media, to a moment in somebody else's life, right? And so we are tearing ourselves down because we're taking our worst moment or our worst feelings about ourselves and comparing it to somebody else who may be having their best moment. And we shouldn't be comparing at all. But if we're honest, right, and we put out that honesty, we're not perpetuating that we're living our highlight reels. We're living our authentic life. And that helps us connect to other people. You're tired
Totally.
in the morning, you don't want to get up for work? Me either. It's rough, right?
Yeah.
So
I also, it's funny, your thing you remind me of that I once did a workshop in camp many, 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 many years ago before I went silver in my beard. Um, I called it chapter three.
right.
Right? Sometimes when you see someone do something, like just like you, we compare, like no, 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 he didn't get there straight away. Or it's chapter three. He worked upon himself first two chapters to get where it was, and you can't compare your journey to his because it's impossible. Or when you see something, right? And I don't want to digress too much, but when you see something, you don't see the beginning story. So stop making a judgment or case upon, wow, look what he did, kind of thing, both internally and externally. Yeah, valid points, David. I totally 100% agree. Unfortunately, there are plenty of unhappy people in this world because they live like that, and I see too many of them, unfortunately.
They're looking at the house and not realizing it started with the paperclip.
Oh, the other thing is I tell people is that if you just light one candle, right, it doesn't light the whole room, but it gives you the ability to search a corner, right?
Exactly.
So that blows people away. What? The small, you just need a small match to light a candle, and then kind of thing. But yeah, yeah, it's life is challenging as we know. But again, if you kind of remember, you got paperclip, a small paperclip, you
So I
know.
think I think that's going to be the challenge for our listeners is to find your metaphorical paperclip. Find
Yeah,
the thing that you can put out this week that helps you put positivity into the world. Maybe that's a commitment you're going to smile at three people. Maybe you're going to tell your child why you appreciate them. Maybe you're going to go into work and help a coworker. Whatever it is, find your paperclip and know that by the end of its journey, it will achieve amazing things.
yeah. You don't know where it ends up.
You
You
never know
know.
where it ends up. So I'm David. This is the Font of Wisdom, Gavi, and we will talk with you again.